Hello and welcome. My name is Hermie Abraham, and I'm an employment lawyer at Advocation. Advocation is an employment law firm that solves and prevents workplace problems. And I'm taping another in my Ask Hermie video series where I answer your burning employment law questions. And today I have the most beautiful office location. I am here in sunny Montego Bay, Jamaica, with my family celebrating my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. However, as a small business owner, the hustle never stops, so I am taping another video and I hope you enjoy it. And this video I'm taping is on resignation notice. And one question I often get is whether or not an employee legally has to provide notice of resignation to their employer when they're seeking to leave and join a new employer. And unlike notice of termination for employees, when an employee loses their job through no fault of their own and their employer is seeking to end the relationship, resignation notice is treated very differently in employment laws. So you won't see a standard under statutory laws such as the Employment Standards Act or the Canada Labour Code that dictates a specific amount of resignation notice that an employee is required to provide. What you will see, though, is under a verbal or written contract of employment, the employee and the employer are agreeing to a specific amount of resignation notice that is acceptable when the employee is seeking to leave. So you might see a written contract of employment that says, if you wish to resign, we require 2 weeks of notice. And that becomes a legal standard that the employee is held to, and that is the amount of resignation notice that they're required to provide. So in short, under statutory laws, there is no standard, there's no minimum amount. An employee who wishes to leave and has no contractual obligations can do so at any time without having to provide any notice to their employer because there's no minimal legal standard. However, if there is a written contract or a verbal contract where the employer and employee agree to a specific amount of resignation notice, then that is what the employee is legally required to provide. So the second question I get is, what happens then if the employee wishes to leave earlier than the resignation notice period? So for example, let's say there is an employee who has a resignation notice period of 60 days, and they decide that after 10 days they want to leave. Well, in those circumstances, it is considered a breach of contract, meaning that they're breaking the terms that they'd originally agreed upon with their employer. And what then happens is if there are damages that are suffered by the employer can technically sue the employee for those lost damages. So let's put this in context with an actual example. So let's say that you have your top salesperson and they're negotiating a sales deal, and the sales deal is due to come into fruition in another 30 days. And they wish to resign and they have to provide a 60-day resignation notice period. But they decide, you know what, I'm not going to provide 60 days. I want to join this new employer sooner, and I'm only going to provide 10 days. So if this particular sales opportunity falls down the tubes because of the fact that this employee is leaving early and the employer suffers as a result of it, so let's say they lose the value of that particular sales opportunity, then the employer can legally sue the sales manager who didn't provide the proper resignation notice period for that lost opportunity, because that would have, if not for the shorter resignation period, it might have gone through. So that would be a circumstance where if there's a contractually agreed upon resignation notice period and the employee provides less notice than agreed upon and the employer suffers as a result of that, there might be a monetary damage, or the employer can then sue the employee. Now, I will say that those circumstances are few and far between, and as you can imagine, they're really limited to people who, the cases that have been decided, have been really limited to people who have impactful positions within the workplace. So if it's you're a typical employee who, has an impact in the workplace. We do our jobs, we do our good job, but we're not necessarily going to, our leaving doesn't result in money out the door for the workplace. You're not going to find that there will be lawsuits or any type of legal action against that particular employee for breaching their contract and leaving earlier than they agreed to. So resignation notice can result in legal damages against an employee if the employee's leaving early creates a large impact to the workplace, and the impact can be measured by some kind of loss to the workplace, and that loss is typically in monetary loss. So that is my answer and resignation notice. I should say that even though you might have no impact to the workplace, for your professional reputation, for your integrity, and also to leave the workplace in a positive manner, you really should agree to or follow through with what you originally agreed upon and provide the requisite amount of notice of resignation so your employer can transition your position. So anyway, I thank you very much for listening to me today. If you have any burning employment law questions, please do send them to askhermy@advocation.ca. We'd be more than happy to listen to them and to answer them, listen and answer. And until such time, I will leave you with the wonderful view that I have and wish you a wonderful day and a fantastic summer. Take care. Goodbye.